Hello, happy Friday to you from a frigid Wisconsin where it's currently 10 below roughly outside. So fortunately, I'm a basement dwelling video gamer, so it's nice and toasty in here. Today I want to cover some interesting developments in the Ubisoft Assassin's Creed versus SJW outrage mob. Now, if you remember, this is maybe a week or two ago, essentially what had happened was Assassin's Creed rolled out some DLC. In this DLC, a female character would have ended up, spoiler alert, would have ended up having a baby with a man, regardless of the fact if you've chosen to be gay. Now, from a utilitarian standpoint, I could absolutely understand this, especially happening in the time period that Assassin's Creed takes place. So I'm sure lots of homosexuals had children and lived traditional lives for utilitarian reasons, and particularly in this case, you know, to preserve her bloodline, which is literally the storyline, right? However, Ubisoft now has released the Going Straight DLC, sponsored by Totino's and Pringles, to appease the social justice warriors. Now, to be clear, I actually received a really lengthy email from a viewer who is in the LGBT community and was a little, they felt a little uncomfortable with how aggressively I was, quote, against this. I want to be very clear. I don't care. Like, bang who you want as long as it's legal. Don't care. Don't want to know about it. Don't care about it. None of my business anyway. Okay, so everyone's very clear. I don't have a problem with choosing to be gay in real life. I don't have a problem with choosing to be gay in a video game. My joy from covering this is simply that this is a rod of Ubisoft's own making. This is exactly what happens when you pander to the SJW community, when you queer bait the LGBT community, because you know you'll get a lot of retweets on Twitter. Eventually, they will eat you. That's why the saying is the left always eats itself, or SJWs always eat themselves, because they do, right? Because there's what called the victimhood stack. So if you're gay, you get this many points. If you're trans, you get this many points. If you're trans otherkin, you get this many points. If you're a person of color who's trans, you get this many points. Eventually, nobody can be supremely woke. The king or queen of that will probably be a person of color who was born with no arms and no legs and identifies and as an androgynous tree person. This is how these crazy people think. Okay, so last night, Ubisoft rolls out that Assassin's Creed will, in fact, give you the Going Straight DLC pack. Assassin's Creed Odyssey will alter DLC scenes and dialogue, after all. Changes address controversy. I would like to I think the correct word here is non-troversy, if you know what I mean, over forced romantic storyline. Oh my God. What about all this straight... Okay, I'm not even going down that road. Assassin's Creed Odyssey's Shadow Heritage expansion will get changes to its story and cinematics, after all. A controversy in which the protagonist character was hardwired into a hetero relationship that received a child. Despite earlier story choices, some players could making them into same-sex romances. Again, at the time, my biggest gripe about all this is that people want free will in a video game, basically. It's a video game. There's only so many possibilities that can exist. I feel like we're getting a little nitpicky, people. You can do, as long as it's legal, whatever you want in real life. Let's not expect video games to replace real life. I mean, let's just chill here a little bit. But again, Ubisoft asked for this. They asked for this. They were taking in all those delicious likes and retweets when they talked about how woke their game was. So I don't feel bad for them. A Ubisoft community manager said that Ubisoft Quebec is making changes to a cutscene and dialogue in Shadow Heritage to better reflect the nature of relationships for players selecting non-romantic storyline. The changes and a rename trophy achievement, some found insensitive and inconsistent with their character, will be implemented in a future patch. We've been carefully looking at the next episode, Bloodline, to ensure the paths that players experience mirror the choices they make in the game. The community manager wrote this afternoon. Now, again, to be clear, I understand why people would be frustrated in this case. Okay, if I thought it was cool to make my character gay, and all of a sudden I just got married in a traditional sense, regardless of all the decisions I made before that, it would seem a little weird. Am I going to write a blog about it and cry about it? Probably not. I'm just going to remember that it's a video game and life goes on, and that not every single decision can be catered to by a small development team. But that's just me. The idea that people are looking for representation in video games is so absurd to me that it's hard for me to really give much credence to it. And in this long email I got from a viewer, this person pointed out that they did appreciate the representation and that it was a good thing. And that's not inherently bad, obviously. Good for you. But also, I mean, I don't like video games. I mean, you play as non-humans in lots of video games, right? You play as a cup, right? And, you know, I mean, you could play Cuphead. You could play whatever character you want. I enjoy the video game for whatever it is. I probably unfairly discounted the small percentage of people that are looking for this. Now, I would say to them, there are many romance simulators in the Japanese market. There's also, you know, all sorts of other options of games that you can play that have these sorts of things. And to expect a AAA video game to cater to an extraordinarily small group of people, and let's just take the gay thing out of it, right? What if it were people who were amputees, right? Probably more amputees in this country than there are gay people, or similar numbers. That's just a guess, okay? If you take that part of it, do you still care? Are people on Twitter still saying this is an outrage? That if you chose in the game that you were wheelchair bound, and all of a sudden, well, I guess people probably would complain. People complain about everything. Moving on. Shadow Heritage, the second chapter in the premium DLC, Legacy of the First Blade add-on, is meant to tie in the protagonist to the lineage of assassins established in the series over the past decade. In this chapter, either character will end up having a child with the son or daughter of proto-assassin named Darius. However, Assassin's Creed, in the run-up of its October launch, noted the ability to play as a female or male character and have some gay relations, romance among the limited role-playing choices. When Shadow Heritage revealed that the character had settled down in a traditional relationship, even if they had spurned romantic overtures of Darius' sons or daughter, fans reacted with disappointment and criticism. I saw people literally equating this to being, you know, taken against their will, to put it in a family-friendly term. I mean, I can't even believe I'm saying this, because this is the type of thing that, like, is a little bit of a meme, but let me tell you something. It's a video game. It's just a video game. It's not real life. Perhaps if you're this invested into a storyline in a video game, where you're having like literal PTSD from it, maybe video games aren't for you, or maybe you should stick to puzzle games and other things like that. Because seriously, it's a video game. In addition to subverting the orientation, some may have chosen for their character and others to into the forced storyline made players' earlier participation in the story meaningless. This part, I understand. But that's not really what anyone was complaining about. They're only complaining about it because of the same-sex decision. Because basically every game in history that has offered some sort of free will always has to have some linear path in it, regardless. You don't have free will in video games, all right? So where was all the outrage when every other story mode, you know, I'd like Arthur Morgan, you know, I'm not even going to say it. I would have liked to change the outcome for Arthur Morgan, but I couldn't, right? Am I outraged about that? No. I would have liked Arthur Morgan to get over that girl that was always using him when she needed him. But I couldn't do that. Am I suffering PTSD from that? No, I just played the game, right? That's how games work. They're not real life. And as of 7:53, which again, Ubisoft, this is your own fault because you are pandering, and this is exactly what you get. At 7:53 p.m., following Ubisoft's statement, GLAD, the LGBT advocacy organization focused on instances of biases and discrimination in the media, tweeted a statement. Okay, let's see. We are pleased that Ubisoft has listened to LGBTQ players and will be making changes to Assassin's Creed. This is an important first step towards mitigating the damage done by the game's latest DLC. I mean, come on. Seriously? It didn't do any damage. It's a video game, all right? If you don't like it, don't play it. There are thousands of video games out there, probably tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of video games that I will never play. And for whatever reason, I know this is probably hard to imagine, life will go on. But Ubisoft, I think we can all enjoy the fact that this is your own fault. This is a controversy that you asked for, all right, with your pandering. And now you had to spend money to change the DLC. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to change something in this DLC that other players aren't going to like. And then you're going to have to deal with the controversy about that. You have now relinquished power to a very small but vocal minority. And now you have openly said that, you know what, just complain about it on Twitter and we'll change it. This is a dangerous precedent for Ubisoft. Just saying, it'll be interesting to watch. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.